Hello, welcome to another Gundam Battle Operation 2 video. That is the new suit, the Byarlant Custom, which we finally got this suit. And if you're not aware of what it is, it's from a pretty famous scene in Unicorn Gundam, which I'm not a fan of Unicorn Gundam, and so aren't a lot of people. But there's one thing that series got right was the mobile suit battles, and the Torrington base scene is probably one of the best, even in just Gundam in general. A bunch of Zeon remnants attacked a base. Torrington base, not a base, and they're kicking the Fetty's ass, and then this suit pops out and just starts wailing on the Zeon remnants. And to be fair, oh hey bonk. To be fair, at some points I think the Byarlant should have got like shot down, but I'm fine with it because the scene was still pretty cool. But yeah, and you know what? It's good to see that it translated pretty well into this game as being a pretty badass feeling suit, especially with some of the way it moves, as you can see. And it's actually the next 4-star unit we got. After the new Gundam and the Sazabi, this is actually the next 4-star, and it's a 600 raid, which is pretty different. God have mercy on the 4-star support. Still gonna suck. But yeah, so what makes this a 4-star unit? Well, we're going to figure out in the stats here. Before we get to the stats, I just want to say 2 of these matches here. One of them is going to be on Arctic Base Shuffle, Target Shuffle, and the next one is City Ruins. I think it's a basic match, and I get ace match, my bad, and I get really greedy for kills, even though it's an ace match, and I I kind of fuck up the team, unfortunately, but I get my just desserts there. But yeah, and also beforehand, I don't know what's going on with my internet provider, but my streams have just been getting down and stupid stuff. And if this video looks a little bit blurry or pixelated to you, I'm sorry. Hopefully you can still see what's going on. It doesn't look like a Game Boy game, except even more pixelated. Shouldn't be that way, but yeah, so hopefully you can still see. And yeah, we'll get into the stats here for the Byarlant Custom, and we'll start off with the health and the stats. Okay, you have 19,000 health. You have 31 ballistic and beam resistance, which is actually pretty high for a raid at this cost. You have 10 melee resistance. You have 40 range strength, 25 melee strength, 140 speed, 235 boost speed, 85 thruster gauge, and 78 turning speed, which I believe goes up to 80 something on the ground, since it has ground capability, I believe. And then for the slots, you have 20 close, 12 mid, and 12 long range slots. And yeah, you can definitely build this thing up in a variety of ways. Oh, I hope you didn't hear that. For one, you can build this thing pretty tanky in the beam department, since a lot of people are going to be using beams. You can definitely help out that melee resistance you have, since that's going to be one of its bigger weaknesses, is that 10 melee resistance, especially if you're bringing this to something like 650, dear God. But yeah, you can buff that up to like 30 if you wanted to. It does have some pretty good range and melee. Well, the melee is already really strong, even though it only has 25, so you can definitely buff that up. I have 2 different builds. One's focused on my thruster gauge, which you can definitely get this to 100, just straight up. 85 thruster gauge based, and yeah, definitely build up to 100, and you can be flying forever pretty much, especially with the skills this thing has. Before we get to the skills, we're going to get to the primary weapon here, and the secondary weapon as well. And for your first weapon, you have the Byarlant Custom Mega Particle Cannon, which is 2,150 damage, 80% heat rate, and 450 range. And that is essentially just a instant stun weapon. It feels kind of weak and a little bit slow, but it's still an instant stun, and it can still, if you can aim and anticipate how slow the beam can be, you can hit somebody, get a stun, and initiate what you want. And then for your melee weapon, for your primary weapon, you have the Byarlant Custom Beam Saber, which is 2,600 damage, and I believe that is it has a unique downswing. It slides forward, just slams that beam saber down on top of somebody, as well as having some pretty far-reaching side swings and neutral swings, because the Byarlant's big width-wise, so its arms can just reach out, kind of like with the original Byarlant. So pretty nice so far. Your secondary weapons, you have the the Mega Particle Cannon ×2, which is 250 damage, 4% heat rate, and 200 range. And that thing is pretty much like how it is in the anime, just rapid fire, just, just shoot everything. I believe the next match you'll see poor Schwartzman Diaz just get got. And the weird part is it actually penetrates. So you can be shooting at a group of people and just start penetrating everywhere. It's just weird. And it's not like a super reliable stun option unless you have a teammate shooting with you. But if you're fighting somebody and you know they don't have like their weapons ready, you can just continue to fire at them. Or, you can fly above your teammates, start raining down beams at people. And, if you do sustain enough fire on somebody, they're going to be taking some decent damage. Again, this is it has 250 damage and it has 40 range strength. And if you want to buff up that range strength, you can probably do some more damage with that. Beware if you're a support, because it can kind of shred depending on if you have your resistances on or not. But yeah, it's not like going to be super helpful in most cases. To me, I kind of use it for the damage, or if I want to start out for my stun, but I have to really make sure I don't get hit. So I have to make sure I'm doing like a 1v1. And then your secondary weapon is the Byarlant custom claw arm, which I believe is actually the Gapley's. Was it on its legs, I believe? Whenever it's transformation mode. But yeah, that's on its arms, and it's 3,000 damage. And this is pretty much the Mark II Cubelaze 3-pronged beam sword, or beam saber. Yeah, this thing will heavy stagger. I almost said heavy attack. This thing will heavy stagger whenever you do any move that's not a downswing. And the downswing will actually do a straight just slide. And yeah, does a lot of damage to supports. I believe if you watched my first match with this, it did over 10k to somebody. That's pretty gross damage. That was a C1. He didn't build his melee resistance. But yeah, that is definitely a suit. You can either start with that, go to your beam saber, or use your beam saber, go into the claw arm. Nets you a lot of damage. Yeah, really good weapon. It doesn't hit multiple times and knock people over like the Masalas, like the last suit, But yeah, that's still really useful. It's basically just a Mark II Cubelaze 3-prong beam saber. And then for skills, you have balancers, you have the Ambac level 2, you have maneuver armor level 2, you have force injectors level 2, you have melee combo controller level 2. A lot of 2s here. You have the heavy attack, which is actually used for your beam saber. And I forgot to actually mention the heavy attack for that beam saber, and you go fucking flying. I almost want to say it's like the draw C, where you can actually use that to get like zoom in around a map. Although it's kind of weird hitting it. It's not like with the, let's say, like the space type, actually, let's use a different example. The Riga Z, where you have to be close to somebody, you do major damage, it goes through shields and all that. Yeah, this thing will just, it'll hit once if you're really close to somebody, but you'll probably zoom past them for and miss the second hit. But if you get somebody up against the wall, you can do, your typical heavy attack damage that does a lot of damage. You just have to be really careful how you hit it. Or, you can just use it to get that initial hit off, and then you can, like, throw in your claw arm afterwards for a combo. So it's pretty useful for catching people, or, for, like I said, speeding around the map. You can also tilt it when you're flying, which is, yeah, it's pretty disgusting how it does that. You have Assault Booster level 3, which it's a raid. All the raids get Assault Booster. You have Blast Stabilizer. You have Flight Control level 3. Flight System level 3. Yeah, so every time you're flying and boosting around, you take a lot less thruster gauge consumption, which is really good if you're doing, like I said, when I had 100 thruster gauge, you stay in the air for a long time. You have high-spec flight control, which I believe that one is if you can tilt up and down like you're in space. You have shoulder buffer level 3, back add-on buffer level 2, which I believe for the shoulders, that would be obviously your shoulders. And your back is for the massive backpack you have, which, yeah, pretty good. And then you have high-performance counter, which if you know what the Sazabi and the new Gundam is, and now you're aware of their abilities, if you're below 30% health, you get a special counter, and it does extra damage, and I believe it just stabs, and then bonks at the claw arm, and then slices downwards with its beam saber. And then finally, you have dodge roll level 2, which the level 2 of this suit actually gets dodge roll level 3. uh, yeah. So anyway, as you can see, those are a lot of good skills. And some good weapons as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with... let's go ahead and start with the cons. The cons for this suit is that... actually, no, I'm going to start with the pros, since there's a lot of pros I can go on. So the pros is that this thing does have some... You saw the skill list. The skills list is pretty good, or at least you heard the skill list. Skill list is pretty extensive and pretty good. It works really well with the suit because a lot of it helps it with its flight system. You take less buster consumption when you're flying around, so you can zip and zoom just wherever you want. Unfortunately, I don't believe you can tackle in the air. I actually haven't tried that before, but now there's a bunch of flying suits around, so I'm kind of thinking about doing it, but But yeah, that's something to keep note of. It has some pretty good skills, and has like literally every skill you want, pretty much. Double dodge roll, melee combo controller level 2, blast stabilizer, so you're not bothered by mobile suit explosions. It's got the whole thing going for it. Another great pro for this suit is that the weapons are pretty damn good. You got the beam weapons are okay, but mostly the melee weapons are what makes it extremely exceptional. The beam saber can be charged for a heavy attack. The heavy attack, you're not going to get a lot of damage out of it unless you're pinning people to walls, but it's got great utility to it. You can actually fly pretty far with it, kind of similar to, like I said earlier, the draw C. If you ever use the draw C in space, a lot of people just do the downswing of the draw C just to get around the map faster, and that's kind of what I do with the draw C heavy, since support can't really go super fast, so I use the downswing a lot. So like this suit, you can use the heavy attack to get around faster, which is quite nice. The melee, of course, itself is pretty good. You have a lot of range with the melee, since the Byarlant just got those big old arms. And the claw arm is pretty fucking destructive against supports and against lower melee resistant suits like the Dovin Wolf, which... Gotta be aware of the Dovin Wolf. It's going to be a little bit hard to stun, but when you get the melee combo off the Dovin Wolf, man, you just melt that thing. Not as fast as supports, but you still melt it. Again, other generals like that, it still does really good damage to even generals that still have melee resistance. Also, you get to see me here getting really cocky, just like, okay, I'm going to go capture the point. And I forgot that I was just totally cleaning house and accidentally knocking teammates over, so... I'm going to be the ace, and my suit is just out there by itself. Rather unfortunate, honestly. That's what I get for being really greedy for my kills. Maybe it's because it's ace match. A lot of people are really reserved in ace matches. Probably because they don't want to be the ace, which is rather unfortunate. But yeah, another buff for this suit, or a pro, is that even though the rapid fire ×2 mega particle cannon is not too strong. Well, against certain supports can be pretty strong in generals, but it actually penetrates, which is pretty good for laying down fire on people. It's got short range, but it's still pretty damn good. If you want to start off with that as a stun, not too bad at all. Anything else? Oh, the stats is actually pretty good too. The stats for the Byarlant Custom is wonderful. Again, you start off with 31 ballistic and beam resistance. The only stat that's low is the 10 melee resistance, which should be a pretty good starter for the cons. Which the cons for this suit is that you have 10 melee resistance, and for a raid that's at the 600, 650 cost, that can be pretty hard to handle. Especially at 650, because there's quite a few 650 generals that will utterly fuck you up, like the O, the Toad Stritter. I think there's something else I'm trying to think of. I just can't remember off the top of my head. You have to be really careful around melee suits. You also don't have any suits like damage control, so if somebody's trying to rapid fire stun accumulate you, you're a pretty big suit, so they're probably going to hit you pretty easily and get a accumulation stun. So that's that one point where damage control could be useful for this kind of suit, but They need to balance it somehow. But yeah, low melee resistance can kind of fuck this suit over, as you've probably seen these past 2 matches when I play really stupid. Another downside is basically this thing is a raid, which kind of goes hand in hand with the last con I gave it. Because this thing's a raid, generals will do a lot of extra damage to it, and there's a lot of good generals at 600 and 650 that will fuck you up if you let them do it to you. Also, we were so close to winning. I believe here in a second we're going to get a kill, and we're just barely going to lose, which is rather unfortunate. Man, that guy he's just fucking dead. Yeah, that downswing on the claw arm is not to be messed with. Unless you're the O or some other suit that has super high melee resistance, try to avoid getting hit by that. But yeah, rather unfortunate that the Masala, he's definitely going to be abusing that that invulnerability, sadly. But man, we were so close. Oh well, timeout. Let's see what we got going on here. I forgot to say what happened during the first match. I'm pretty sure I got 2nd place last match. Maybe 3rd. But this match, hey, top individual score, 8,100. Pretty nice. Gonna praise some teammates because they're doing pretty nice. And hey, 2nd place, 8-3. Not too bad at all. Although I wish I didn't downswing my teammates as much as I did that match, because I know at some points I was using my claw arm and I was accidentally hitting them in my rage. But yeah, this thing is pretty beastly, and for further cons, there's one I actually forgot about until just now, actually, is that it actually has weak legs. So I'm pretty sure if you have the Gundam Hyper Hammer, you can actually bust this thing's legs in 1 hit. If you have a suit that's just really good at part breaking, you aim for the legs, it does a lot of damage. Although it shouldn't be too much of a problem because this thing can fly. So if you want to use your flight and try to abuse, if you're boosting around, you can boost like you can with the Byarlant, where you can fly and then use that as some sort of, I believe you can do some sort of ambac. It's been a while since I played the regular Byarlant, and with this suit I have balancer, so I'm just fucking schmooving around. But you can use that to your advantage so you don't break your legs, so you can just fly, and because you can look down at people, tilt, and then just do attacks. Oh man, it's really great. But yeah, this suit is pretty beastly, and I'm not even like a raid player, as I said before, like many times. But yeah, this suit is definitely pretty worthy of the 4-star unit, or at least the 4-star symbol. But yeah, oh man, I think that's gonna wrap it up for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe if you want. I'd really appreciate it. And type up in the comment section how you feel about the Byarlant custom. Do you like it? Do you hate it? I actually really like this suit. This thing is just, man, if you're a hyper aggressive raid player, this is the suit for you, and I highly recommend you roll for this. I highly recommend. Of course, it's a 4-star, so if you feel like gambling your life away, go ahead. Or you can try and do the step up, which at the last step up, I believe there's 7, you actually get the level 1. It just hands it to you. It's like, okay, we feel bad for you. You got a bunch of beam sabers. Here you go. So, yeah. Other words. Anyways, I think that's what I was looking for. The suit is just damn good. But yeah, that's gonna be it. I'll see you guys later. Bye.